How are my good friends in the land of YouTube doing? I haven't been on here in a while. Tell you, it's been a couple months. Kind of dropped the video making thing. I really haven't read much, but I just jumped back into some books. Let's talk about them. Today, I want to talk about The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfus. Now, this book was a big sensation a few years ago. It's still quite popular, and everybody is waiting on the Doors of Stone. You know, release information on the Doors of Stone is about as consistent as Bro Science Live videos. If you know, you know. But the first book I listened to a long time ago, and I decided to go back and listen to it again. And let me tell you, damn, this is a good book, man. Like, I love The Name of the Wind. Hello, Jax. You wanna come up here and say hi? Come here. Come here. There he is. Jax is here to say hi. Aren't you? Okay, get down. Get down. Good boy. I've been out of town for 3 days, so he's been quite clingy. Anyway, this book is phenomenal. I really enjoyed The Name of the Wind. Brief synopsis for you. We follow the coming of age story of a young man named Kvothe, who is born into a traveling performer family known as the Edema Room. But everything falls apart tragically for Kvothe, who had a quite good life up until this point. And while traveling around performing with his family, he comes across a man who is an arcanist named Ben. And Ben begins to teach Kvothe sympathy, which is this world's primary form of magic. Sympathy is a very hard magic system, makes a lot of sense, not real complicated to understand. But he is also introduced to the concept of naming, which is the more mythical style of magic, but actually exists. And it is where you know the names of things and therefore have power over them. The most obvious one being obviously the name of the wind. And so young Kvothe, who is a genius, by the way, learns magic from this man, excluding the more advanced magics of things like naming. He learns sympathy from this man, until Ben ultimately gets married and leaves, and goes off to live his own life. And even though Ben isn't around anymore, Kvothe still has an awesome life, traveling around with his family, you know, performing, practicing his sympathy, until everything comes to a tragic halt when his entire troupe is murdered. The rest of the story is Kvothe coming of age, trying to survive in a harsh world as a, I believe, like 8-year-old kid. I don't remember exactly how old he is. Dealing with the grief of losing his family and trying to find out more about his family's murderers and why they were murdered. Eventually, Kvothe's pursuits leads him to the Arcanum, a school that teaches sympathy and higher magic, meaning the naming of things. Here, Kvothe finally begins to find a place where he belongs and makes friends with two gentlemen named Will and Simon. And the friendship between Kvothe, Will, and Simon is fantastic. It's a great friendship. If you enjoy good, fun friendships, you know, this is there. This is good. I really enjoy the friendship dynamic that they have and all their different personalities. Kvothe is probably the biggest point of contention within The Name of the Wind. The book was very well received and has received a lot of praise, but Kvothe himself gets quite a bit of criticism for being a Gary Sue, for always doing everything right, never making any mistakes. And I think that's really a shallow viewpoint on him. For one, the entire story is his mistakes. He's very good at everything. That is different from not making mistakes, right? He's very talented, he's very smart. And I mean, he's more so than most main characters. But what do you expect from main characters? That's what you expect them to be, some of the best, you know, for the most part. We don't read books about losers. At least I don't. You know, if I wanted to experience the life of a loser, I'd just go back to work. So I am easily able to look past Kvoth's excessive natural talent and wit. Also, it helps especially that Kvoth and I share a sense of humor. I think he's hilarious. This book made me laugh so much. And I love witty humor, okay? And that is what Kvoth is all about. He's sarcastic and witty and sometimes rude, and I think it's hilarious. Along the same vein as characters and friendship, Kvoth meets a girl named Dinah. And the relationship between Kvoth and Dinah is quite controversial, I suppose. I don't even know that it's controversial. A lot of people don't like it. I know when I first read this story, it really irritated me. And then when I reread the story, it irritated me less and less and made more sense to me than it did upon the first read, having thought about it. Because I know that the actions of like Dinah irritated me quite a bit on my first read through. And then when I actually thought about it, they really didn't anymore and made quite a bit of sense. I think that we have a problem in literature with romances. I noticed this a lot when I was going through The Wheel of Time and seeing what other people had to say about The Wheel of Time, and they criticized the romances in The Wheel of Time a lot. Look, romances don't make a lot of sense, my man. Bless me. Corona. But, romances don't make a lot of sense from the outside, right? And romances are not perfect. Most people are gonna spit and spat and fight. That's not what I shoot for in my life, and it's probably not what you shoot for in your life. But that is how most interactions like that go. It's very realistic. And then, especially in a situation as complicated as, say, the life of Dinah, there's gonna be obstacles, things getting in the way. You know, it's not gonna be happy, fun time love story. They're not just gonna all of a sudden realize that they love each other and profess their love, and now everything's happy and great. Another thing, while I think it can be a little bit overdone within a story, it's very obvious that Dinah's in love with Kvoth, Kvoth is in love with Dinah, and neither of them realize it. If you have a personality anything like mine, that makes sense. I've been fairly oblivious in my lifetime to the feelings of other people. I still feel largely clueless to the thoughts and feelings of other people. I've been told some nonsense about lacking empathy and blah 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 blah. Feeling shit. Get the fuck out of here with that. But feelings, you lack empathy. Bottom 15 percentile in empathy. Listen, the point is, it made sense to me, okay? I got it. Mildly annoying. Because, like, by the end of the book, you're like, alright, you know, guys, come on. Can one of you make this connection, please? You're both very smart. Make the connection. But it was understandable, it made sense. I really don't feel like the relationship between Kvoth and Dinah is near as bad as people make it out to be. If you wrote a toxic relationship in fiction, you're probably being about as accurate as you can get. Because we all know so many people in toxic relationships. Granted, like I said, we don't want to read books about losers. So, if every relationship in your book is a toxic relationship, you're doing something very wrong, and it's not going to be any fun to read. You should have relationships that are reflectant of, like, the ideal, you know? And most of them should be much more positive than they are negative or toxic. That is a fair point. What's up, guys? I'm just
editing here, and I just wanted to add in real quick that I don't find this relationship particularly toxic. I'm not saying that. I feel like it comes across as if I'm saying the relationship is super toxic and that's okay. It's not really what I'm saying. I'm just saying the relationship's fine. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's just whatever. It's there. Now back to past me.
Moving on. The plot of this story is Quoth's coming of age. I find it fascinating, super compelling. I always want to know what's going on. It also helps that it is being told through the lens of Quoth. Now, the fact that it is told through the lens of Quoth, I think, is also something that is debated on, for one, and is also missed on by some of the people who do not like this book, or that just doesn't work for them. For example, you're not going to find an ugly girl in this book. I mean, there might have been like two, and they were specifically ugly, you know. But for the most part, every woman in this story is beautiful. And the book knows this. It's well aware that Quoth is telling this story and embellishing it, at least in my opinion. For example, Bast, one of Quoth's friends in the modern day, tells him, Reshi, all of the women in your stories are beautiful. Case in point, they're all beautiful because Quoth is telling the story. You know, the story understands what's going on here. This is not a verbatim telling of the events. This is not exactly how things happen. It is Quoth's point of view. One of my favorite things in stories is to see an event from multiple points of view and how that affects it. You don't do that in this book because it's solely Quoth's point of view, but still, you know, it's I say that to give you an example of how the character point of view affects the story that is being told, right? And if you're writing very well, it should, in my opinion, unless you have what am I looking for here? Unless you have a narrator of sorts. But if you're following characters and the world is viewed through their eyes, specifically, their view on the world should be reflected in how things are written. Anyway, overall, I think Patrick Rothfus did an amazing job with Name of the Wind. Something that's always talked about is Patrick Rothfus's writing style. I don't know that I've ever seen better just writing. Just the way the book is presented and the prose. It's phenomenal. It's amazing. It's one of the best parts of this book and makes it really enjoyable to read. Overall, The Name of the Wind was an awesome book. One of my favorite books of all time. Definitely top 5. Maybe number 1. I'd have to run through a list of that. But 10 out of 10 from me. It has its flaws. There are things wrong with it, obviously. But this is as close to a perfect book for me as you're going to get. You know, later on down the line, reading other books, that may change. But that is today's rating. 10 out of 10. Love the book. Keep an eye out for coming up. I'm going to do a review on Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. I am about finished with that. We're going to do A Wise Man's Fear, the follow-up to Name of the Wind. And A Little Hatred by Joy Abercrombie. I'll be making videos on my thoughts on all of those books. Thank you all very much for watching. Like, subscribe, share with your friends if you thought it was a cool video. And peace out, everybody.